In Sicily, a crime lord named Lorenzo Vidal arrives at his vineyard with his grandson and finds a slew of dead bodies lying everywhere. He goes inside alone and finds 3 of his men have Robert McCall seated with a gun to his head. Vidal asks McCall what he is doing there, and he says he was there for something that they had taken that wasn't theirs. McCall gives them 9 seconds to stand down before he proceeds to kill the 3 goons and then leaves Vidal crawling away. He grabs a shotgun and blasts Vidal in the head. As McCall is walking away with a bag, the grandson sees him and McCall tells him to stay in the car. The boy shoots McCall in the leg and runs away. McCall drives far enough until he loses consciousness. He is found by an officer, Gio Benucci, who takes him to the local doctor in his town, Enzo Aricio. Enzo tells Gio to say that McCall fell in case anybody asks. After Enzo asks him if he is a good or bad man, McCall says he is not sure. McCall wakes up after a few days and learns he is in the town of Altamont. He befriends Enzo, who finds a place for him to stay, and he also becomes friendly with Gio and his daughter Gabby. McCall starts going by the local cafe and also befriends one of the employees, Amina. He is haunted by images of his late friend Susan Plummer, and he remembers how he killed the men at the vineyard one by one. McCall later contacts the Daya and speaks to Emma Collins. He tips her off about what he found at the vineyard in Sicily and suggests she investigate. Collins goes with her partner Frank Conroy and a team, where they find 11 million euros, along with a huge stash of narcotics. She later locates McCall in Altamont and starts communicating with him over what they found at the vineyard. In the market in Altamont, a thug named Marco Quaranta is antagonizing a fish vendor named Angelo over not giving him what he wants, then demands that he have it the next time he shows up. Marco and his brother Vincent run the Camorra, a mafia group that terrorizes Altamont. Marco visits Vincent as he is meeting with a couple that refuses to sign over their building so that Vincent may run a hotel. He responds by having the wife's wheelchair-bound father thrown and hung from a window, then has his corpse left for the other residents to see as a warning. Gio gets a phone call saying that Gabby left school early, and when he asks her teacher, she says one of his officers took her. Gio runs home and finds Gabby and his wife Chiara being held captive by Marco and his goons, before they proceed to threaten Gio so he can stay out of their business. At night, McCall sees people running when they hear a bell ringing. Angelo's shop has been set on fire, and he and his wife can only be held back as they watch the shop go up in flames. McCall notices Marco and his goons sitting back watching things, and he knows who to go after. Collins sees a news report of a terrorist attack in Rome, believed to be done by Syrian terrorists. Based on what she has learned from McCall, she doesn't believe this was the work of Syrians, even though it was their drugs found at the vineyard. She confides to Conroy that she believes this is part of a bigger plan. Sure enough, Vincent discusses with Marco his plans to take over the entire coast with their own businesses, and the terrorist attack was part of the plan. Collins also ends up caught near an explosion in the city as she attempts to go near her car, but she is alive and hospitalized. Marco goes to a restaurant where Gio is having dinner with his family in an attempt to get him to get boats from Somalia. Marco then notices McCall staring at him, and he goes to confront him. McCall lets him know clearly what will happen if he does not stop his threats against the family, so he grabs Marco's wrist and compresses a nerve in his hand that causes him pain until he gets his goons out of the restaurant. Outside, Marco plans to retaliate, but one of his goons gets run over by a van, as the driver has already been killed by McCall. He kills the last goon before fighting Marco, breaking his arm and getting him to stab himself to death. After Vincent learns of his brother's death, he is visited by Chief Barella, who appears to be in league with the Camorra. Barella makes threats, which results in Vincent stabbing his hand and then having his goon cut Barella's hand off before sending him to the hospital to get it reattached. Vincent then plans to get revenge. Vincent and his goons go to Altamont and attack Gio, firing a gun near his ear and threatening to kill him and his family until his brother's murderer shows up. McCall comes out and tells Vincent to take him and to leave everyone else alone. Before Vincent can kill McCall, Enzo fires a rifle of his own. The residents then get their phones out and record the villains, forcing them to flee before police arrive. Vincent returns to his compound and begins to make plans to attack Altamont the next day. Unfortunately for them, McCall has found them first and begins to pick them off. Vincent wakes up when one of his goons' blood drips on him from the ceiling before the body crashes through the glass. Vincent tries to run away but ends up knocked out by McCall. When he wakes up, he finds that McCall has given him a lethal dose of the drugs found at the vineyard, giving him a few minutes before his heart gives out. Vincent attempts to run into the street with McCall slowly walking behind him, and he ends up hit by a car. The crime lord stumbles a little further before he finally expires. McCall later visits the hospital where Collins is staying. He admits to her that the real reason he came to Sicily was to retrieve pension money from someone he knew that had it stolen by the criminals. He leaves her with the bag full of money. Collins goes to Boston where the man McCall was talking about lives. He and his wife are emotional and grateful to find that their money has been recovered. When she goes back to work, Collins receives a little black book from McCall on all his personal gatherings, with a note saying your mother would be so proud of you. Collins then looks at a photograph on her desk, revealing she is Susan's daughter. McCall stays in Altamont and joins them in celebrating the victory of their football team.